She was holding something, that much is certain. The photograph exists, taken by a crew member who has never publicly identified himself, uploaded to a private account that was deleted 3 days later, and screenshotted by enough people before the deletion that it has circulated quietly ever since. Hailey Bieber. Backstage corridor, Coachella 2026. Something in her right hand. Her left hand against the wall, steadying herself. Her face turned slightly away from the camera, which means the expression is only partly visible. What is visible is enough. She is not performing anything. She is not posing. She does not know she is being photographed. And the expression on the visible half of her face, the set of the jaw, the specific quality of the focus in her eye, is the expression of a person who has just found something they did not expect to find and is deciding in real time what to do with it. What is in her hand is not identifiable in the photograph. The image is not high resolution. The object is partially obscured by her fingers. It is small, palm-sized, which narrows the field of possibility considerably. Small enough to be a note, small enough to be a photograph, small enough to be any number of things that have no business being in a dressing room the night of the most significant performance of a major artist's comeback. Beyond that, nothing. She is alone in the frame. Justin's dressing room door is visible behind her. It is closed. She is on the wrong side of it. This photograph has been studied extensively by the people who know it exists. They have enlarged it, adjusted the contrast, run it through every filter available to them. Nobody has been able to identify what she is holding. Nobody has been able to explain why she is in that corridor, outside that door, holding it. Nobody has been able to explain why the crew member deleted their account 3 days after uploading it. Nobody has been able to find the crew member. Nobody has asked Hailey. Nobody has dared. And Justin Bieber, who was on that stage for 90 minutes and delivered the most celebrated performance of his comeback, has never mentioned it. Not once. Not to anyone. Not even to the people closest to him. The photograph exists. The object is unidentifiable. The door is closed. And whatever happened in the room on the other side of it, in the time between when the crew set it up and when Hailey walked in, has stayed in her pocket ever since. To understand what Hailey Bieber was doing in that corridor, with that object in her hand, outside a door that was closed behind her, you have to understand who she is. Not who the internet decided she was. Not the replacement, not the wrong choice, not the woman who appeared from nowhere and stepped into a story that millions of people had already decided should end differently. Hailey Bieber is the wife of Justin Bieber. They have been married since 2018. They have a son, Jack, born in 2024. She is the founder of Rhode, a skincare company that has become one of the most successful celebrity beauty ventures of its generation. She is 28 years old, and she has spent 8 of those years in one of the most scrutinized marriages in the world. Justin Bieber is the man who was discovered on YouTube at 12 years old, who became the most famous teenager in the world before he had the tools to survive it, who spent years navigating the specific damage that fame causes when it arrives before a person knows who they are. He is 31 years old. He is the man who headlined Coachella 2026 in what critics and fans have called the comeback performance of the decade. He is the man in the dressing room whose door was closed. They found each other before either of them was ready. They built something real out of the impossible circumstances. They are the two people at the center of everything that happened at Coachella 2026, and at the center of the thing that happened before the show that nobody has talked about. To understand what Hailey Bieber was doing in that corridor, with that object in her hand outside a door that was closed behind her, you have to go back. Not to Coachella. Earlier. You have to go back to what 8 years of close attention actually looks like. Not the public version. Not the marriage as it appeared in the photographs and the careful interviews and the posts that existed in the space between what was true and what was appropriate to share. The private version. The one that exists in the accumulation of ordinary hours and the knowledge that accumulates inside them. She had been 21 when she married him, 21, which sounds young until you understand that she had spent most of those 21 years in proximity to the specific difficulty of existing in the public eye. She had been photographed since she was a child. She had been compared and measured and written about in ways that had nothing to do with who she actually was. She had developed early the specific intelligence of someone who has learned that survival in public requires knowing the difference between what you show and what you keep. She had said yes to Justin Bieber in full knowledge of what the yes would cost, not naively, not without understanding the story she was walking into, the story that already had a version, that already had millions of invested stakeholders, that did not include her as anything other than an intrusion in a narrative that the audience had already decided should end differently. She had said yes anyway, and then she had stayed. Through the years when the internet decided daily that she was the wrong choice, through the years when his health was uncertain and the timeline of the recovery was unclear, through the early mornings of the Ramsey Hunt recovery, the facial exercises, the uncertain looks in the mirror, the specific fear of a performer who did not know if his face would ever fully cooperate again, through the unworthy post in the weeks before Coachella, which had landed in the middle of an anxious news cycle with the specific weight of a private thing accidentally made public. She had stayed through all of it, not dramatically, not for the camera, not in the way that gets written about and archived, in the invisible way, the way that costs the most and generates the least content. And in the staying, she had learned the house. She knew it the way you know a house after 8 years of living in it. Not the layout, but the feeling. The specific atmospheric quality it had on a good day versus a difficult one. The way the morning light fell across the kitchen when something was wrong. The quality of the silence that meant everything was fine and the quality that meant it was not. It started with the post. 3 weeks before Coachella, Justin wrote something on Instagram in the middle of the night. A few lines, no photograph. He felt unworthy. He felt like the life he had, the wife, the son, the stage waiting, felt like more than he deserved. He posted it before he could think too carefully about whether to post it. His representative issued a statement. Justin was fine. He was in a transformative period. The statement was true. It was also not the whole story. The whole story was happening in the house, in the early mornings before anyone arrived, in the late nights after everyone left, in the specific hours when fame offers no protection and a person is just a person with whatever they are carrying. Hailey knew. She had been watching for 8 years. She knew the difference between the version of Justin that could hold himself together and the version that was starting to have difficulty. She knew it in the way he poured his own coffee, whether he poured it without looking, on autopilot, or whether he stood at the machine for a beat too long as if the simple decision of how much to pour required more processing than it should. She knew it in the specific quality of his laughter, whether it arrived easily or whether it came a half-second late, manufactured rather than spontaneous. She knew it in the way he answered or didn't answer when she said his name from the other room. In the way he looked at photographs of himself at 12 years old, the boy with no idea what was coming, with something in his face that had stopped being nostalgia and started being something harder to name. She said nothing publicly. She didn't post. She didn't signal. She didn't give the interview that explained what was happening at home in the weeks before the biggest show of his career. She paid attention. She paid attention in the specific way that 8 years of close attention teaches you, not watching for problems, not managing a situation from the outside, but simply being present in the same space with someone long enough that you know their interior the way you know your own house, the way you know which floorboards creak and which lights flicker before they go out, the way you know what a silence means before it has said anything. Something was in the house in the weeks before Coachella. She could feel it. She did not know what it was. Not until she walked into the dressing room. And then she did. On the afternoon of April 11, 2026, in the hours before the biggest show of his comeback, she walked into Justin's dressing room. He was not there. She had known he would not be there. He was in the production area going through final technical checks with the stage director and the sound team. She had the schedule memorized, the way she had the schedules of every significant day memorized, because knowing the schedule was one of the ways she made sure she was always in the right place at the right time. She walked in. She looked around the room. It was the standard Coachella dressing room. Utilitarian. A makeup table with a mirror ringed by bulb lights, a wardrobe rack, a sofa, a mini refrigerator, a round table with 2 chairs. The kind of room that exists everywhere and looks the same everywhere. The specific anonymity of a backstage space built for function rather than comfort. His stage clothes were laid out on the wardrobe rack, his sneakers positioned precisely on the floor below them. She had done that. She always did that. The exact position of the shoes was one of the small private rituals of preparing for a performance, the kind of thing nobody noticed except the person who did it. His monitor earpieces were in their case on the makeup table. A bottle of water, half empty, beside the mirror. A small notebook he sometimes kept, for words that arrived before a phone was within reach, was open on the table. The visible pages were blank. On the table beside the earpiece case, there was something that had not been there when the crew set up the room. She saw it immediately. She crossed to the table. She picked it up. She looked at it. She stood there for a long moment, long enough for the crew member passing in the corridor outside to raise their phone and take the photograph that would circulate quietly for months afterward. She put it in her pocket. She looked at the room once more, at his shoes, at the blank notebook pages, at the water bottle. She left the room. She closed the door behind her. She did not tell Justin what she had found. She did not tell anyone what she had found. She walked back to the area where Hailey Bieber was supposed to be, the VIP section near the stage where she would watch the show with Jack in her arms, where the cameras would find her face when Justin said her name, where she would nudge Billie Eilish toward the stage because she was paying attention, which she always was. She walked back. She did not say anything. The show happened. Justin was extraordinary. He was the version of himself that the comeback had been building toward. Baby and Sorry and Where Are You Now, and the laptop segment with the old YouTube videos and Billie Eilish on her knees on the stage floor and Big Sean saying the thing that needed to be said, and then the 47 seconds of silence and the speech and Hailey Babe Hallelujah and the bow. The show happened, and it was everything it was supposed to be, and she watched all of it with whatever she had found in the dressing room still in her pocket. Think about what that means. 100,000 people in the desert watching Justin Bieber perform the most significant 90 minutes of his career. The cameras sweeping the crowd, the lights, the music, the specific electricity of a large group of people witnessing something real. All of it happening at maximum scale. And Hailey in the VIP section with something in her pocket that she had found 2 hours earlier in an empty dressing room. She held Jack against her chest. She watched the laptop segment, watched Justin watch himself at 12 on the screen, the boy with no idea what was coming. She felt whatever she felt about the face that Justin made in those moments. She was in the specific position of a person who knows something the person they are watching does not know, who has made a decision about that knowledge, who is living inside that decision in real time in public with 100,000 other people around her who have no idea that any decision has been made. She watched him say her name. Hailey Babe. Hallelujah. The cameras found her face. 100,000 people saw her face. The live stream sent her face to millions more. The expression on it, the involuntary openness, the composure giving way to something that was not performed, traveled everywhere. Nobody saw what was in her pocket. When he said her name, she was carrying it. She did not reach for it. She did not look down. She held Jack a little tighter. She watched him finish the show. She watched him stand at the microphone for 47 seconds. She heard the voice that was not the stage voice say the things she knew he had been holding. I almost didn't come. 3 days ago, I was on the floor. Get up. Come to the desert. Do the show. She watched the crowd respond to the speech, the specific sound that 100,000 people make when they have been given something true. She knew more about what it had taken to get there than anyone in that crowd. She was carrying proof of it in her pocket. She said nothing. The show ended. The bow. He walked off. She would find him later, in the corridor, or at the car, or wherever the night took them. She would be there. She always was. But first she stood in the VIP section while the crowd made its noise, and she held Jack against her, and the object stayed in her pocket. And whatever she decided to do with it, whether to tell him, whether to show him, whether to say anything at all, that decision had already been made. In the dressing room. In the seconds between seeing it and picking it up, the decision had been made. She was already living inside it. She watched Justin say her name. Her face did the thing that 100,000 cameras and however many millions of live stream viewers saw it do. The involuntary openness, the composure giving way to something that was not performed. 100,000 people saw the expression on her face when he said those words. Nobody saw what was in her pocket. When he said her name, she was carrying it. She did not reach for it. She did not look down. She held Jack a little tighter. She watched him finish the show. She has never told anyone what it was. She has never told Justin she was in the room. He has never mentioned it. There are people who believe the object in the photograph is a note. A handwritten note left by someone who wanted to reach Justin before the show. A crew member, a person who had access to the dressing room in the hours before Justin arrived, someone who wanted to communicate something they could not say out loud or through the official channels. The theory is plausible. Notes have been left in dressing rooms before. The world is full of people who want to reach the famous at moments of maximum vulnerability and find ways to do it. If it was a note, the question is who wrote it, and what it said, and why Hailey chose to take it rather than leave it for Justin to find. There are people who believe it is something else entirely. A photograph, an object with history attached to it. Something that existed before Hailey, before the comeback, before the years of rebuilding. Something that found its way into that dressing room through channels nobody can trace, left there deliberately by someone who wanted it to arrive on exactly this night. If it was something from the past, the question is who brought it there, and what they intended, and why Hailey, upon finding it, made the specific decision she made. Not to tell Justin it existed, not to involve the team, not to do anything that would disrupt the show. Just to pick it up, put it in her pocket, walk back out, watch the show. The third theory is the one that requires the most trust in Hailey's specific competence, which is considerable. That she already knew what it was before she walked into the room. That the thing she had been feeling in the house for weeks, the unnamed thing, the thing that moved through the rooms in the early mornings before anyone arrived, had told her to check the dressing room. And that what she found was exactly what she had been afraid she would find. If that is the version, the question is different. Not what was it, but what did she do with it, and why she has said nothing since. Nobody knows. The crew member who took the photograph has never come forward, has never described what they saw, whether Hailey looked afraid or calm or somewhere between the two, has never explained why they took the photograph or why they deleted their account 3 days later. The photograph exists. Hailey's expression, to the degree it is visible, is not afraid. She is not performing calm either. She has the expression of a person who has found something unexpected and is processing what to do with the finding. Not panicking, not dismissing it, processing. With the specific quality of processing that belongs to someone who has been in this exact position before, who has found things, known things, held things privately, and who knows exactly how to carry a thing without it being visible in her face. She put it in her pocket. She went back to the show. The show was the show. And then the show ended and Justin stood at the microphone for 47 seconds and he said the true thing. And the crowd made the sound that crowds make when they have been given something real. And in the VIP section, Hailey watched him, with whatever she had found in the dressing room still in her pocket. The days after Coachella were the days of the clips. The 47 seconds, the speech, the streaming numbers, the Billie Eilish clip. Hailey's caption, nobody will ever know even an ounce of what it's taken to get here. The discourse, the theories, the people who sent the clips to each other with no captions because no caption was necessary. Nobody talked about the photograph. It existed in a small and quiet corner of the internet, shared by a few accounts, studied by the people who found it, discussed in the spaces where the people who pay very close attention to this story gather. Nobody asked Hailey about it directly. She did not mention it. Justin did not mention it. There is a version of this story where the object was nothing, where Hailey walked into a dressing room and found something left by a crew member by accident, a phone charger, a water bottle, a piece of equipment that had been set down and forgotten. Something ordinary, something that explains itself completely as soon as you know what it is, something that required no decision-making, no pocket, no silence. There is another version. In the other version, what was in the dressing room was not ordinary. It was something that required the specific quality of processing visible in Hailey's face in the photograph. Something that she decided, in the time she stood in that room, to pick up and take with her and not mention. Not to Justin, not to the team, not to anyone. Something that she understood, in the specific way that 8 years of paying close attention teaches you to understand things, was better held privately than dealt with publicly. On the night of the biggest show of his comeback, in the hours before he walked onto the stage, she found it, she took it, she watched the show, she said nothing. There is a person who was working the Coachella backstage crew that day who has spoken to one journalist, once, off the record. The journalist has not published what was said, what has been confirmed, and the confirmation is narrow, deliberately narrow, given in the specific way that someone gives information when they want something to exist in the record without wanting to be responsible for it, is this. The object was not standard dressing room equipment. It was not something that belonged in the room. Beyond that, nothing. The journalist chose not to publish. There is a reason journalists make this choice. Sometimes the information is not verified enough to stand up. Sometimes the source is not credible enough to publish on. Sometimes the information is real and the source is credible and the journalist makes a different calculation. that publishing it would cause damage that outweighs the public interest in the information, that some things are better left in the record as an absence, a gap, a space that exists without being filled. The journalist filed it away. The crew member has not spoken since. The photograph exists. Hailey has the object. Justin performed the show of his career, and there is a detail that nobody has yet fully accounted for. The following weekend, Justin headlined Coachella again. Weekend 2, the same desert, the same stage, the same show, the same dressing room. Hailey was there for weekend 2 as well. She was in the VIP section when he performed. She was there when he stood at the microphone at the end of the set and simply bowed and walked off, because, as he told Sarah Chen afterward, he had already said the thing. It was said. He did not need to say it again. She was in the venue. In the hours before weekend 2, she was backstage. Nobody has confirmed whether she went back to the dressing room. Nobody has confirmed whether there was anything in it. Nobody has asked. But here is what is known. Between weekend 1 and weekend 2, something between Justin and Hailey shifted. Not dramatically, not in a way that was visible to anyone outside their immediate circle, but in the specific way that things shift when a decision has been made and the person who made it has decided that the decision is the right one. A quality of settledness, a quality of things having been processed and put where they belong. Justin played weekend 2. He bowed. He walked off. He said to Sarah Chen, "I did the bow." She said, "You did the bow." He kept walking. Hailey was at the end of the corridor. She looked at him. He looked at her. Something was settled between them. Nobody knows what was settled. Nobody knows what was said in the time between weekend 1 and weekend 2, in the privacy of wherever they were, in the conversations that belonged to them. Nobody knows whether the object was mentioned, whether it was shown, whether it was explained, whether it was placed on a table between them and addressed, or whether it lived in her pocket through both weekends and was dealt with afterward, or whether it will never be mentioned at all. Nobody knows. The photograph exists. The closed door exists, and the thing that was settled between weekend 1 and weekend 2, whatever it was, whatever it cost, whatever it required of both of them, belongs to them. Nobody knows what it was. Hailey is not saying. Justin does not know to ask. The photograph shows her outside the closed door, holding something unidentifiable, with the expression of a person who is carrying something carefully. The caption, written days later for a carousel of Coachella photographs, said, "Nobody will ever know even an ounce of what it's taken to get here." She wrote that. She meant it. And the ounce she was describing, the specific, unnamed, pocketable ounce, is the thing that the photograph caught and that no one has been able to explain. He performed the show of his career. She watched him from the VIP section. Whatever she found in that dressing room stayed in her pocket. And at the end of the night, when he said her name in the desert in front of 100,000 people, her face did the thing that faces do when something private becomes public without warning. The involuntary openness of a person receiving something they had not prepared to receive. She had not prepared to receive it. She had been carrying something all night. She is still carrying it. Whatever it was, whatever is in that photograph, in that hand outside that door, it belongs to her now. She took it from the room. She kept it through the show. She has never mentioned it. The door behind her in the photograph is closed. It was closed when she found it. It was closed when she left. Whatever was on the other side of that door, in the dressing room, on the table beside the earpiece case, it was small enough to fit in her hand. It was significant enough that she kept it. It was private enough that she has said nothing. And whatever it meant, whatever it changes about the story of that night, about the 47 seconds, about the caption that said "nobody will ever know," is still in her pocket. Nobody saw her take it, except the crew member with the phone, except the photograph, except the closed door. And the closed door is not talking. Neither is she. The journalist who spoke to the backstage crew member, the one who gave the narrow, deliberate confirmation that the object was not standard dressing room equipment, has not published the full account, has made a decision not to publish it, has held it. Two people now hold something about what was in that room. Hailey and the journalist. Neither is talking. The photograph shows her outside the closed door, the object in her hand, the expression on the visible half of her face that is not afraid and not calm, but somewhere in the specific territory between recognition and decision. The territory of someone who has found something unexpected and is determining, in the seconds it takes to stand in a room and look at a thing, what to do with it. She decided in those seconds. She took it. She put it in her pocket. She has carried it since. In the weeks after Coachella, Hailey did an interview, not about the dressing room. Nobody asked about the dressing room because almost nobody knew there was a question to ask. She was asked about the night generally, about what it felt like to watch the comeback happen in real time, about the caption she had posted. Nobody will ever know even an ounce of what it's taken to get here. She smiled. She said it had been a very full night. She said she was proud. The journalist did not ask about the pocket, did not ask about the 40 minutes she had spent in the dressing room and the corridor before going to the VIP section, did not ask about the object. The interview ended. Hailey thanked the journalist. She left. In her pocket, presumably, was whatever she had found on the table beside the earpiece case. Nobody asked. She did not offer. And the night on the Coachella stage, the 47 seconds of silence, the speech, the name said in the desert in front of 100,000 people, remains the public story. The thing that traveled everywhere. The thing that people sent to each other without captions because no caption was necessary. The dressing room is the private story. The object is the private story. The pocket is the private story. And the private story belongs to Hailey. She found it. She kept it. She watched the show. She has said nothing. And whatever was on that table beside the earpiece case, whatever is palm-sized and partially obscured in the photograph and not standard dressing room equipment and significant enough to keep but private enough to say nothing about, it belongs to her now. It always did. The door was closed when she found it. The door was closed when she left. And the closed door is all that any of us will ever see. And she knew. She had known it the moment she walked in the way that 8 years of close attention to one person prepares you to know things in seconds that would take other people much longer. In the way that the house and the coffee and the quality of the silence had all been building toward a shape she could not name, until she was standing in a dressing room looking at something on a table, and the shape finally had a name. She processed it in the seconds between seeing it and picking it up. Those seconds belonged to her. Nobody else was in the room. Nobody else will ever know what happened in them. She picked it up. She stood in the room for long enough that a crew member passing in the corridor outside raised their phone and took a photograph. She put it in her pocket. She looked at the room once more, at his shoes positioned on the floor below the wardrobe rack, at the open notebook with its blank pages, at the half-empty water bottle beside the mirror, at the door she would now close behind her. She left the room. She closed the door. She went to watch her husband perform the show of his career with whatever she had found still in her pocket, with the decision she had made in those seconds still holding, with the weight of it sitting in her pocket alongside everything else she had been carrying for 8 years. The show happened. The 47 seconds of silence happened. Hailey Babe Hallelujah happened. 100,000 people watched his face when he said her name. Nobody watched her pocket. She has never told him what she found. He has never asked. The photograph exists, the closed door exists, and the object, palm-sized, partially obscured, not standard dressing room equipment found by the one person in the world who had been paying close enough attention to know exactly what to do with it, belongs to Hailey. She found it. She kept it. Nobody knows what it was. The closed door is all there is, and the closed door is not opening. Neither is she. Some things are found in empty rooms on the afternoon before the most important show of someone's career. Some things you pick up and carry with you. Some things you keep and say nothing about and carry through the show, and through the 47 seconds of silence, and through the name said in the desert in front of 100,000 people, and through the weekend after, and through whatever comes next. Some things stay in the pocket. This one did. Whatever it was, whatever it meant, whatever she decided in the seconds between seeing it and picking it up. It belongs to the room where she found it. It belongs to the pocket where she kept it. It belongs to her. The photograph shows her holding it. The closed door shows nothing. And between the photograph and the closed door is everything that will never be known about what happened in that dressing room on the afternoon of April 11th, 2026, in the hours before the biggest show of his comeback. She was there. She found something. She kept it. Nobody knows what it was. Nobody will. In the weeks after Coachella, the photograph circulated in its small and quiet corner of the internet. The people who found it studied it. They shared it in the spaces where the people who pay very close attention to this story gather. They tried to identify the object. They tried to locate the crew member. They tried to find the journalist who had spoken to someone off the record. Nobody found the crew member. Nobody found the journalist. The photograph is all that exists. Hailey Bieber, Backstage Corridor, Coachella 2026. something in her right hand, left hand against the wall. Expression that is not afraid and not calm, but somewhere between recognition and decision. Justin's dressing room door closed, visible behind her. That is the whole record. That is everything available. The object in her hand. The closed door. The expression on her face that belongs to the specific territory of someone who has just found something they did not expect and is determining, in the seconds they have, what to do with it. She determined. She kept it. She has said nothing. The closed door is not opening, neither is she. And the caption she wrote, days later, for a carousel of photographs from a weekend that changed something. Nobody will ever know even an ounce of what it's taken to get here. Contains an ounce that nobody will ever know. That ounce is palm-sized. That ounce is in her pocket. That ounce was found in an empty dressing room on an afternoon in April. And it belongs to her. It always did. The show was the show. The pocket was the pocket. The closed door is still closed.